Arne Slot's first tough test in the Premier League took place this past weekend with Chelsea coming to Anfield. And as predicted, it was a really, really fun, interesting game to watch. Despite the referee doing what he wants to do, Liverpool came out 2-1 winners, but there were so many talking points from the game. I'll just start it right off with the refereeing performance. I think it was a terrible, terrible performance. I think Chelsea should have got a penalty for the Jadon Sancho thing. I think Dawson should have been sent off. Liverpool should have had another penalty. The referee gave a lot of 50-50s away. He saw them as fouls for some reason. Uh, Terrible. Maresca called out the ref. Arnish not called out the ref. There's this incredible gif of Darwin Nunes and another Chelsea player going shoulder to shoulder in the 95th minute, and for some reason he calls it a foul. Darwin Nunes is losing his head. He's on a yellow card, and the camera cuts away. And a mild-mannered Arnish Slot has completely lost it in England in just, I think, 3 months, where even he's screaming and shouting, and he got yellow carded before that, like long before that. So yeah, Rohit, before we get into the game's talking points, let's just discuss what happened with the referee.
Yeah, I think we've talked about this before, right? I think there's a general malaise within the refereeing community in England, right? Because it can't be that, they've just hired a whole bunch of bad referees who keep making mistakes. There has to be some underlying reason, right? I'm assuming, they're probably not being given the right amount of training or the right kind of direction, right? Maybe the motivation is not in place. But as I understand, right, refereeing is a tough job, and it also has very rigorous reviews after the game. But if you keep seeing these mistakes and again and again, and some of these you can understand, okay, the Jadon Sancho penalty one, okay, it's understandable that the referee didn't see it on the ground. What is the VAR doing, right? The same thing, right? A lot of these things you have to kind of, question the overall structure. But I think, in this game, at least it didn't spoil the game overall too much. In future games that might happen, that a bad refereeing decision actually spoils the game, and maybe even, I don't know, the championship race or something in a critical game.
That's already happened a few times last season and the season before. The Tossin one is something I really want to touch upon because I understand referees making mistakes. I understand that, there can be a precedent that, this is not going to be a red card and this is going to be a red card or a yellow card. But 24 hours earlier, the same thing happened. The Arsenal and I think it was Bournemouth, right? Uh, a player threw on goal. There is another defender behind. I think it was Saliba. And the referee gave a yellow. Then it went to VAR and it was changed to a red. Over here, there was no VAR check at all, just because they expected Colville to catch Diego Jota, which I don't think was possible. So all I want is some consistent refereeing, which is not happening here at all. Now, I also want to talk about the two penalties. Uh, Salah should have got the penalty first because I think he was stripped by Colville. I don't know why we got that first penalty from Curtis Jones. I thought it was too soft. I think the one on Sancho was a more clear cut penalty. And then the third one, I saw it in real time and I thought it wasn't a penalty at all because clearly you can see Sanchez gets a bit of the ball. And more importantly, it's not like Sanchez ran into Curtis Jones. It was the other way around. Curtis Jones ran into Sanchez, who was just trying to block the ball. So I think the referee had a stinker. I think you're right. There is a lot that has to be done to fix referees here because we sit here almost every other week talking about the referees, and more often than not, we don't talk about referees from other leagues. We've never spoken about a Real Madrid referee. Like I know there are mistakes that happen, but it's not a regular feature that you have to bring about this referee has done this referee has done that. I don't know what they'll do to fix this, but this is surely a big problem.
Yeah, just to those incidents, right? I agree with you on all of the penalty calls. The Tosin one, I think there's a critical difference between the Saliba red card and Tosin because for the Saliba red card, the other centre back, I think Gabriel or whoever, he was nowhere close to the ball. So there was no way he was going to catch up with Van Nilsson. This one, Colville, it's debatable whether Colville could have caught up with him or not. That's the only kind of slack he could cut, but I agree with all of the other issues as well.
So, referee blunders aside, let's talk about the game. Liverpool scored first through the penalty. Again, we've spoken about the penalty. We won't be going into that. But Chelsea actually looked very good. They dominated possession, or at least had the majority of the possession. They couldn't get clear-cut chances, but they had a lot of touches in the Liverpool box. And then second half, lo and behold, Nicholas Jackson, who's been in excellent form, makes a really great run. Now, when I saw it in real time, and even the commentators, right, they said he's offside. It looked offside, but he was just marginally lined up with the Konate's, I think, left foot and left knee, and it was a really good finish. And at that time, I was thinking that yeah, this is now going to be either a very good draw, like both teams will go attacking each other, or the Chelsea will actually take the lead. But I think a few minutes later, it was Salah who gave a brilliant cross in, and Curtis Jones made a really, really interesting run into the box. It was a very surprising run because you would expect somebody from the Chelsea team to pick that up. Unfortunately, nobody did, and it was a very sweet finish. The other thing I wanted to talk about also was our game plan. A lot of people have spoken about Liverpool's game plan against Chelsea, where we essentially sat back. We didn't actually try to control the game. We let you guys have the ball. And when we went forward, obviously, we tried to break and counter, which worked at least in this match, which is a little different to what would have happened under the Jurgen Klopp era, where we would have tried to dominate its Anfield. We want to send out a message, but Arne Slot seems to be, I wouldn't say conservative, but he seems more practical. That he's maybe learned from that last international break when Nottingham Forest did one on us, and he thought that let's give Chelsea the ball, let's try hit him on the counter, and we'll see what happens.
I think you make quite a few very interesting points, right? Let's start with the conceding possession, right? If Chelsea had had like 20 shots on goal, a very high XG, then you could say, hey, why did Liverpool go into the shell? But that didn't happen, right? Chelsea did play well. They had the majority of the possession, but if you look at the XG numbers, Liverpool had a higher XG. So this is just being smart about your game plan. I don't really ascribe to the tribal mindset that hey, it's Anfield, we got to dominate them. No, your job is winning, right? And if you figure out that, hey, Chelsea is a team that's weak on transitions, that is very true. It's been shown again and again. Why don't we just give them the ball, defend well? We've got good defenders and hit them on the counter, right? And that's exactly what happened. And then, Mo Salah, of course, the gift that keeps on giving for Man United and the punishment that keeps up spanking Chelsea again and again, right? What a player, right? What a player! He obviously put away the penalty, and then that ball to Curtis Jones with a beauty, right? He took out three defenders with a beautiful ball in behind, no question about it. For Chelsea, of course, many positives, like you said, right? We played well, we dominated possession. I think this is the highest number of shots on goal we've had in Liverpool in the last 5 or 6 years or something like that, and the team that's made the highest number of passes against Liverpool in the last decade or something. Some really good performance overall, but uh, the problem still remains, right? Chelsea are very soft when it comes to defending and defending transitions, and Liverpool could have scored many more goals if you look at the XG numbers, right? So that's something that Maresca needs to figure out. The other thing that I did like about Chelsea is the fact that Reece James was back and Romeo Lavia was back. They really changed the game, right? You could see their quality on the ball. And I also appreciated Maresca's use of them, right? He curtailed how long those guys could be on the pitch because he had to manage their injuries. We've seen with like other managers before who probably aren't that, scientific and tactical in their approach. They put players back immediately, make them play 90 minutes, and you get a re-injury. Here, Maresca was very smart about it. He knew that, hey, no matter what the game situation is, these guys cannot give me more than 60 minutes. And they got taken off, right? So that bodes well. That bodes for a manager who knows what he's doing. I think the only thing Chelsea need to figure out is how to be, better defensively, which is going to be tough in these big games, right? You have these smart managers like Schlott who knows how to exploit your, weaknesses, and you have players like Salah all throughout the league, right? Quality players. You give them a chance, hurt you. Overall, a very enjoyable game, Adim. I had fun, although we lost. I really had fun at the progress of the team. You can actually see Chelsea progress.
Yeah. I also wanted to bring up Liverpool's defense because last season I remember we used to concede quite a few goals, most random goals, and our defense was all over the place at times. But Slots really worked on the compactness of the defense and the lines or the gaps between the midfield and the defense. We've only conceded 3 goals so far in the
Three
Premier League, which is,
goals.
yeah, from 8 games, which is crazy.
Amazing.
And two of those goals that we conceded, right? I mean, you would have thought that you would have defended that better. The one against Forest, obviously, because he cut inside and he produced a super finish. And then even yesterday's goal, I think he could have done a little better. But I find that to be the most interesting and the best aspect of Slot's tenure here. Not that we're playing a really good brand of football, not that he's had to change anything, but how much he's had to work or he's fixed our defense, because that was, I think, our Achilles heel last season, where we would concede an early goal and then we're spending so much energy trying to get back level. So I find that to be the really best part about Slot. So we'll have to see how it progresses. But Liverpool have a tough run of fixtures coming up. And this is actually a good start. So let's see how that goes. And I've already spoken about the red card for Saliba. So we obviously need to speak about Arsenal, Bournemouth. Both of us said that this
Wow.
was a banker for Arsenal.
Yeah.
Stats, as usual, all lined up in Arsenal's favor. And then they go out and do this. Arsenal look a little labored. They didn't have Bukayo Saka. I don't think they had
Hmm.
Odegaard also. But
Yeah.
still, surely they have enough players and enough quality to beat a Bournemouth side. Now, I saw a lot of people saying that they played with four centre backs and three defensive midfielders because they had Mikel Merino, Thomas
Yep.
Partey, and Declan Rice. But the top three should still have enough quality attacking wise
But
to break down the
here's my
Bournemouth line.
question, right? The top three was Raheem Sterling, Kai Havertz, and
And
who's
Trossard.
their Belgian forward, Trossard, right?
Trossard.
Trossard is good in situations, and so is Havertz in certain situations. But that front three together, they do not work, especially if you're counting on Raheem Sterling. He's had his good days. He's always been reliable. He probably is still reliable to score, 9 or 10 goals a season, but that's not a front three you can win a Premier League with, unfortunately.
Yeah. So we need to talk about Arsenal's disciplinary record, because that's three reds in eight Premier League games. Obviously, you would say that two of those reds were questionable, the one for Trossard and the one for Rice. But then those were really stupid things that they did, kicking the ball away when you know you're on a yellow card. Saliba, this other one was quite terrible to say, because I know it's an instinct, right? The players have an instinct that they will just pull someone back. And
Yeah.
unfortunately, it didn't work out for Saliba. So the big issue for Arsenal will be that Saliba's out for the game against Liverpool. He's suspended.
Yep.
Saka should be back. Don't know about Odegaard. I don't know. Arsenal, there's something wrong with this Arsenal team, despite having the wealth of talent that they have. We spoke about this a few weeks back also, that they have this attitude that everything's going against them and we must fight and fight and fight. I think they're a little too negative at times. They should just play some good football and get it done with.
Yeah, yeah, I do agree. They are blighted by injuries a little bit now, but I think they're relying a little bit too much on the dark arts, right? The dark arts are coming back to bite them now. And I think Bournemouth, one of the goals they scored was through a corner kick, right? Which is what Arsenal have perfected. They got a bit of a medicine, taste of their own medicine. But I don't know. Let's see when Saka and Odegaard comes back. I don't know why Martinelli didn't start. I think he should have started. We'll see what happens. A big game, obviously, coming up. But the true shock for me, I didn't see this coming.
Yeah. So the reason I think Martinelli didn't start, I don't know. Maybe he went to Brazil for the internationals. I'm not quite sure, because Liverpool,
Yes.
none of our South American players started. McAllister, Darwin Núñez, and Luis Diaz. That could be a reason. But yeah, you pointed it right. Arsenal got undone by a very smart free kick routine. You don't get to see those a lot these days. Really well done by Bournemouth. So yeah, kudos to them. I think they executed the game plan really well. Speaking about the third team in the race for the title, that's Manchester City. Uh, Again, this was something that we had predicted, or we had spoken about, that Man City don't seem to be the Man City that they were 2, 3 years ago. They labored. Wolves were decent. Obviously, they've been given a really difficult run of fixtures, but that last second goal by Stones really was a kick in the gut for them. There's been a lot of controversy regarding this goal. Some say that it was offside because who was it? It was Silva. Bernardo Silva was standing right in
Silva,
front of the
yeah, yeah.
goalkeeper and he was pushing him back. Others are saying that no, the keeper had enough time to react to the header by Stones. Now, my question is that if a ball is coming in from the corner, how much time do you have to react? Because somebody's already pushing you with his back, and then all of a sudden decides to fall down, and then somebody smacks a header in. I don't think Sa. I think it was Jose Sa. I don't think Sa could have done anything about it. Bernardo Silva interfered with play from an offside position. I, I don't understand how this was not offside.
I think just because Bernardo Silva is a short, thin guy, right? If it was a bigger guy blocking his path, maybe it would have been given. Maybe that's part of the strategy, right? But I think, yeah, he was pretty smart about it. Like Bernardo Silva usually is smart about everything he does, right? He blocked the keeper when he needed to, and then he ducked as if he didn't do anything when the ball went in, and they gave the goal. But overall, you're right? Man City, they don't seem, as high flying as the last couple of years, but still the job done, right? Just 1 point behind Liverpool, so you could never count them out. Perpetual winners.
Yeah, and also credit to their defense because they seem to be coming up
Yes.
with really important goals. Guardiola, this was another goal that he scored.
Oh wow,
Yeah,
amazing goal, right?
yeah. And then Stones, he scored another important goal, which was the one against Arsenal. I think Guardiola also scored
Yeah.
against Newcastle. So Haaland might not be scoring for them. They don't have Julian Alvarez, Kevin De Bruyne's injured. Still, they're finding ways to score goals and get the win. So it's going to be a really, really tight race at the top. I don't think Liverpool will stay at the top, but we need to see what happens. We need to talk about the other Manchester side. That's Manchester United. They took on Brentford. We all were expecting Brentford to at least take a point, maybe win also, given how terrible Erik Ten Hag has been this season and how terrible Manchester United have been. Brentford did take the lead at halftime, and there was a lot of confusion regarding De Ligt. He was bleeding from his head. Manchester United.
Yeah, I mean, it seemed like he was bleeding throughout the first half.
Yeah,
What was the medical team doing, right?
it's
They should have
shocking.
gotten him off. Yeah, took the time to either,
Tape
fix
him
him
up, yeah.
up or substitute him. Yeah, yeah. You don't want to see somebody bleeding, all over the pitch. And at the end of the day, that's what gave Brentford the advantage in the corner. Very stupid.
Yeah. And at that time, you would fear the worst for Manchester United and Erik Ten Hag because, the crowd's against them. His team's not playing that well. But lo and behold, they turned it around in the second half. I think Garnacho was excellent.
Brilliant goal.
In
Yeah.
absolutely brilliant. And United coming back from a
Hoyland.
goal down. Yeah, sorry, you were saying.
Yeah, yeah. Hoyland's goal was also brilliant. Both of the finishes were top notch. Yeah. Goes
Yeah.
to show that they do have good talent there in the team.
Yeah. So we need to see if this is a turning point for Ten Hag or not because both of us predicted Brentford to get something from the game at least. And when you see that they scored in the first half, you would expect that Brentford will score the second, the third, and just finish it off. But United stuck in. They didn't, lose any hope. They kept on pushing, and this might give Erik Ten Hag some more time as Manchester United manager, at least for our sake, because we want him to stay. I'm not sure about the United fans, but yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting to see what goes on next for Manchester United because. Uh, it's very difficult to predict what they will do or how they will turn up. So this was a good week. Maybe in midweek again they'll be crap. Again
Yeah.
next week they'll be good. So yeah, it is to see. And we need to talk about a London derby that had a slap game. This is Tottenham versus West Ham. Mohamed Kudus scored for West Ham and then decided to go bonkers and slap people left, right, and center. I don't know, Rohit. Please share your thoughts on this.
Yeah, I think this game was interesting, right? Because we talked about this before. We talked about how Ange Postecoglou sets up his side always to attack. And then when West Ham went ahead, I thought, oh no, it's going to happen again. These guys are going to lose. Maybe West Ham sits back, but that didn't happen. And you got to give credit to where credit is due. Tottenham, blew them away. They scored, 4 goals a total. I think three of them in the second half. And of course, that obviously pissed off Mohamed Kudus, right? Because I think a lot of things have been probably piling up for him, right? Because he's a really good player. He signed for West Ham. West Ham hasn't been doing well. He's been performing, and I think he just got frustrated, right? And Mickey Van der Ven, I think he tackled him, and then there was a whole fight that broke out, and he slapped Mickey Van der Ven. He slapped some other random people. Whoever was coming up to him was getting slaps left, right, and center. He got a red. I think he got a yellow initially. It was upgraded to a red. I don't know. Maybe he'll get a few more matches banned because of that. But I think West Ham are doing pretty dismally. They did buy quite a few players. They got Julian Lopetegui to replace David Moyes, and they thought, Lopetegui is going to turn things around. But looks like Moyes was doing a better job, even, while playing a slightly more boring brand of football. And then, Tottenham, good for them, right? They still won, and they won handsomely. So credit is due.
Yeah, so one thing about Kudus is that every time he scored in an away game, I think for West Ham, they've ended up losing. So that's, I think, 4 games that they've lost. So maybe
Yeah,
he
I think
shouldn't
that's why
score.
he's frustrated,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I don't think he should score at all. He's like, no, get lost. I'm not going to score. But yeah,
That's right.
interesting that Tottenham got the win. I think that pushes them to seventh, just a point behind Chelsea.
Yeah. Yep.
Villa still in the top 4 race. They picked up a win this weekend. And
Mm-hmm.
I think the big winners were Liverpool and Manchester City because of Arsenal dropping points. There's now a 4 point
Mm-hmm.
gap between Liverpool and Arsenal, which takes us to the end of this podcast. But we need to talk about what's coming up next week because it's a big, big clash. It's Arsenal versus Liverpool. Another tough test for our Slot. Maybe a chance for Arsenal to come back from their shocking loss and prove that they are in the race for the title for sure. Chelsea face Newcastle, which should be another interesting and fun game. And then obviously we have West Ham and Manchester United. No Kudus, so no slaps for any Manchester United players.
Maybe they needed those slaps,
Maybe they
man.
needed the
Maybe.
slaps. We'll have to see. So yeah, it's gonna be a really fun weekend next time around. And obviously we have midweek fixtures in the Champions League and the Europa League, etc. We'll see how that goes. So that's it from our end. Please do like, share, and subscribe to our content. Drop in a comment. Maybe you want to see more people slapping others in football matches. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. It makes it more fun. And until then, take care and see you next time. Bye bye.
Bye bye.